Live from New York, it's Ask This Engineer over here.
Friends, makers, countrymen,
Yeah.
lend me your soldering irons. We have a fun, exciting show for you tonight. We're going to have lots of time for questions. We also have some fun videos.
That's right.
A smattering of new products.
That's right.
It's
Everybody get your questions ready for the end. We actually have an extended engineering question time at the end.
The person who helps me put in new products is on holiday this week, which is totally deserved, but
Yeah.
we didn't get as many new products
Yeah.
in.
Next week, it's going to be a lot.
But it's going to be extravagant. Next week's going to be crazy. So
Yeah.
Join me, Lady Ada, the engineer,
Yeah. So get your
and
questions
Mr.
ready.
Lady Ada,
Yeah.
not the engineer, but on camera control,
That's right.
on this fabulous journey through space and time on Ask Engineer.
Okay. On tonight's show, the code is PyGirl. We'll tell you why in a second. You probably can guess why. We're going to talk about a full house in the show and tell. Fantastic show and tell this evening. Pack of the Mailbag is going to stop by. Talk about some news and more in the world of open source hardware. I'm also going to show some cool manufacturing videos. Adafruit Learning System, the place online to learn electronics and more. The best place. I tried to combine two words, didn't work out.
The blessed.
Time travel, look back in time with maker history, interesting things in the world, and more.
What's the difference between Time Travel Tuesday and Throwback Thursday?
That's a good question.
Okay, well, we'll cover that later.
Time Travel Tuesday is on Adafruit.
Okay.
Wearable electronics, 3D printing, Pi Day. We'll have some new products. We'll answer your questions. We'll have a trivia question. All that and more on, you guessed it, Ask an Engineer.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Okay.
Do this thing.
So-
I'm gonna do this thing. I'm gonna do this thing. Let me move
Yeah,
on.
we're gonna do all this
Let's
stuff.
see. Okay.
All right.
ready?
So yeah, so
I'm
let's
ready.
let's first pay some bills. The code is the PyGirl, and it's in celebration of a very cool project that we'll be showing and sharing off soon. But it gets you 10% off everything in the Adafruit store that's in stock, except for Eagle Count and gift certificates, because those are weird virtual things that don't have discounts.
Yes.
Speaking
Only
of
physical things.
Speaking of weird virtual things, Bitcoins.
They're weird and they're virtual.
We still accept Bitcoins, and it's actually doing quite well.
Okay.
This is still working out for us, and I'm watching the news and looking around online.
What's the latest drama?
Well, we were
with
in an
Bitcoin?
article. Someone wrote an article about all the things you can do with Bitcoin. It says buy great learning electronics at Adafruit.
Okay.
And I guess you can get airline tickets. You can book hotel. You can buy things on Newegg. Like they have all this stuff now. There's a lot of
Okay.
things you can do with Bitcoin. So we're still accepting Bitcoin. It's interesting. It's one of the things that there was a spike when it was like $1,000 a coin.
Yeah, and there was a little bit of a bump later.
And then now it's just slow. It's just
Now it's
steady.
steady.
Yeah. So people ask, how is it working out?
But you know what? There's a lot of things you can do with Bitcoin. I mean, like when we were first accepting it, we were one of the first like couple hundred vendors that accepted it. So it was pretty
Yeah.
new.
Okay. Next up, don't forget we still have our free deals going on for this month. That's free UPS shipping, $200 or more. That's UPS ground in the continental US. And for $99 or more, you get a PCB ruler.
Very handy.
Super handy. We actually have them all over the place here.
The people here in
use
the
them.
office are like, I need a ruler. Wait,
Yeah.
we sell them.
Yeah. And that's a free deal for the month. We change it
Yeah.
from time to time, but right now, this is what it is. If you ever want to figure out what it is, just go to adafruit.com/free. All right, the show and tell is a monster. The show and tell is what we do every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Lots of people on summer break, so they have
More
lots
people,
of projects.
yeah.
It was an absolute full house. We had 9 people.
It
and
was
then-
maxed.
And then inside of each one of the participant windows, there was extra people. So altogether, we had like 15 people.
We have 15 people total because
Yeah.
there was like Don Pedro, 2 people.
Yeah,
Alexi
sometimes
had
we
2
have
friends.
also there's house pets that get
There was like
involved.
probably 3 or 4 cats.
Yeah, but this week it was mostly people.
Mostly humans.
And why don't you tell everybody what was on the show and tell?
Okay, we had a full house with 9 people. First up, Tony, walking out from Adafruit Northwest. He's been doing a lot of stuff and then poking at the Fona. He got one of the first Fonas, like number 2. And it's been actually really handy because he's like beta testing and checking stuff out. But he got it to work as a tethered cellular data connection. So you can use a Fona as a cellular modem. And if you have a data plan on your SIM card, you can use that as like a data tether. So what he did is he runs PPP, which is a point-to-point phone modem protocol over the modem, and it just passes data back and forth, and you can actually like browse the internet, send emails, check Twitter, SSL, all that good stuff. It just happens over this transparent link. And so he has a tutorial about how to do that with the BeagleBone Black and Raspberry Pi. I think either it's up or it'll be up like tonight. I'll check my email and see if I have to approve it. That's really neat because like if you're doing a BeagleBone Black Raspberry Pi project, and let's say you just want to send data around, like sensor data, it's just like perfect for that because you can turn on this, you can turn on the cellular modem, send your data, and then turn it off. It's much less power than Wi-Fi, and you can work even in the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
Noah and Pedro, who are Adafruit Southeast, came in with this week's 3D Thursday project. This week they finished up, and last week they finished up the Pi Girl, which we will demo, and I'll probably play some more Zelda. And this week they are releasing their DIY 3D printed slider using our precision slider rails, which are really nice sliding rails. They made some 3D printed parts that allow you to attach a tripod mount thingy, so you can slide your camera, and it's like a 400 millimeter, 500 millimeter slider. But you can maybe extend it. But it's a short little slider, it's portable, and most importantly, it's really inexpensive. It's like under $60 to build your own slider that you can take anywhere. Great for people who want to do video shots because like sliding shots are like super slick looking. Tyler came in. This is I think his first time on Show and Tell, and he had a Bluetooth Low Energy MIDI app controller that he designed. He's using like a Blue Giga Bluetooth Low Energy module, and he's able to send MIDI data. He made like an OSC to MIDI converter app so that he can use OSC applications, and then they tether through Bluetooth Low Energy, so he has a wireless MIDI link, which is really nice. And because it's Bluetooth Low Energy, it works with any iOS device. Handy for those iOS people. Lewis came in. He last week showed off. He was working on an iPhone launching rocket based on an Apple commercial that he says he believes is fake. And so he's like, well, I'm going to make it. So he made an iPhone app, an iPhone that can browse to a Raspberry Pi website, and you can press this big red launch button with your finger, and it will launch a rocket. And he used a couple relays, and he showed us the video, and he even got like slow-mo video action going on.
Yeah, it's cool.
It was rockety, and we had to give him extra stickers because they were kind of squished in the rocket. Bao Bao is a statistician, and she came by with her Raspberry Pi project. She's running R, not like the pirate R, but like the statistics programming language, like MATLAB, but for statisticians. And she's writing a Twitter collection service and analysis tool on R, and she's using a Raspberry Pi to do all that data collection and manipulating the data in R, and then it actually gets SMS'd or emailed to her so she can get like updates on her on the statistics that she's doing on Twitter. So it's kind of neat. She's kind of got her own little Twitter service that she made with a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
Scott had like a pro DIY reflow oven using a Pro Mini. This is a really sweet reflow, like way better than the reflow oven I had when we were doing reflow here at Adafruit with the toaster. His has like a little display, and there's like a fan, and there's a controller.
When he showed this project, I mentioned that all of Adafruit was doing all of our products, hundreds of thousands of units with the toaster oven at one point.
Until let's see, when was it that we got the new oven? Until December of 2012.
Yeah.
Everything was done in a toaster oven.
Yeah.
So even like we had shields, we had like the NFC stuff, and all the breakouts.
Yeah.
We had to make our panels so that they would be this big, so they'd fit into the toaster oven. The toaster oven actually does a fairly good job.
We had good yield.
We had pretty good yield. We had like 80-90% yield. I mean, we have way better yield now with a real oven. But hey, don't rock the reflow oven. It can get you real far. Black & Decker IR toaster oven looks great. And hopefully he'll send us links to that reflow oven. Alexi and two of his friends made had some sort of like a talent contest in Siberia, and they made a 6-foot tall NeoPixel VU meter, and they used our code, and it looked cool. It was a gigantic thermometer, but it would light up red. It would fill up with when you clapped, and so it was like it's gigantic. It's like you see like applausometers. It's basically like that with NeoPixel, and they used a Raspberry Pi and an Arduino, and they wrote codes in processing. It looks really good. Patrick has a school, and I guess the toilet is often taken. So we made a Raspberry Pi toilet monitor using a PIR sensor that detects when somebody's moving and then updates a web page so you can just check on your phone or laptop instead of going to the bathroom, which is handy if you hate like waiting outside the bathroom. It's always a little bit weird, like pee faster. So he got rid of that discomfort with just a Raspberry Pi and a PIR sensor. And finally, Joshua came in and showed off some wicked samples that he got from Texas Instruments. Texas Instruments has a free sample program, and I wrote like 10 years ago a web page of all the places you can get free samples from.
Yeah.
And I think all those companies hate me, but you can take advantage of it and get free samples. He got some 555s, MSP430s, some op amps, all good stuff. He's going to build a secret knock gumball machine and come back on a future show and tell. We'll see you there, Joshua. Don't forget.
All right, that was the show and tell. All participants on the show and tell get an as seen on the show and tell sticker. If you're on the show and tell, we send you out one of these, and some of them go to space, apparently.
Well, near space, 50 feet up.
Space. Lady Ada, how do people get on the show and tell?
If you would like to show off your project and join the hundreds of attractive and well-loved people who have shown off their projects on the Adafruit show and tell, very easy. Go to the Adafruit Google Plus page at plus.google.com/+Adafruit and look for the thread where we say comment here to get added to the show and tell circle. After you comment, we will be able to add you to the show and tell circle, the circle that you see over there, with other 404 plus people. And then every week you will be invited at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesday to show off your project in progress.
Yeah, if you've ever been to a maker fair or an event where there's lots of people showing off projects, or a science fair, it's exactly like that, but it's in your browser.
It's a weekly Ada fair.
Live in HD, and we're up to 408 people in the show and tell circle.
The bad news is there's no caramel corn, but the good news is
you can make it yourself.
The good news is that you can just go and get some of your own caramel corn.
Okay. Next up, Pack of the Mailbag. We get lots and lots of emails from happy customers. We read them every week. This one is from Steven. I love Adafruit, and the company has always helped me tremendously with my projects, and I am glad to have another reason to appreciate you guys. Steven. Thank you,
Thanks, Steve.
Steven.
Steve.
Next up, open source hardware. So there's some big news in open source hardware this week.
Yes.
Really big news. And the big news is...
You say that every week.
Well, there's big news almost every week, but this week especially big news. This is Spark.io. It's the Spark device, and this was a well-known Kickstarter, and they just received $4.9 million in venture capital.
Wow.
They are now one of the few, the chosen, the venture-funded open source hardware companies.
Okay.
So that's a big deal. So in the past, here have been the open source hardware companies that have been venture-funded. Little Bits, still venture-funded, still open source. Yeah. MakerBot was an open source hardware company, made a transition to a hybrid model, depending on what model you have or how you view them.
Don't forget, the Thingomatic is still open source.
Yeah, so
they can't take it away.
So fair to say, they're no longer they got acquired.
They're acquired.
So that story is over. That story is over no matter what. But they were at one time a venture-funded open source hardware company.
What do they call it? A liquidation event? That sounds like something you do with a frog in a blender, but it's actually like a desirable thing.
Next up. There is 3D Robotics.
3D Robotics. They got quite a bit of venture funding.
That's right. Open source.
And they also have open source. They do a lot of open source hardware.
Yeah, and depending on what's considered funding, I think there's some angel rounds or friends and family with some of the 3D printing companies. Mm-hmm. Printerbot, I believe they have a round of funding, and then there's also. Lulzbot, but I think they're privately held. I don't believe that they have any. Now.
Yeah, they don't have any funding. But they actually released these files are open source hardware. They even open sourced a bit of their software, and they're actually only interested really in providing the cloud service. I mean, they don't mind making hardware, but they're not super excited about making hardware. They'd rather sell the service, which is so then a company builds the hardware and then contracts with them to provide the cloud backend. Which is great because they have a version of the cloud that's open to everybody, and that's open source, and they're also going to have private versions so that if let's say somebody says like, oh, I really need to make like an open source Internet of Things refrigerator or toaster oven, and like I'm a company and I don't want to host my own cloud provider, Spark.io would do that. And we had Zach visit here a couple months ago. And he's like super sharp, super smart, and super into open source hardware, open source software. like we grilled him and like we're like, you know, like, do you really like want to do this thing? And he's like, yeah, I really want to release the hardware. The hardware is actually not.
Yeah.
He's like, if people clone it, that's only better for me because I want more people to use my service.
So what I think is neat is O'Reilly Alpha Tech Ventures is one of the funding entities. And they're we're part of O'Reilly, which had Make, and they had Instructables and Chumby, and so they have a long history of investing in open source companies, which is cool. So anyways, what's neat is this means that there's venture capitalists out there that see the value of being open, and they think it's a good business.
Yeah.
So we're not opposed to funding. We don't want it or need it right now, but it's really cool to see companies making the case for it, and for investors to not care about what patent portfolio you might have. It's actually more about what you're doing, not what you might, be able to say, shotgun called it, in the patent space. That's very important. That's a different type of business for a lot of people, but it's cool. They're just saying this is the thing that might fuel the Internet of Things evolution.
Yeah, I mean, like between them and Electric Imp, we have a lot of, we're starting to get a lot more stuff. We'll also be carrying the Acme like Wi-Fi modules, which also use a different cloud service. But like this is good. This is what people want.
So speaking of funded companies, the next video that I have is of the Othermill.
Oh right.
And the Othermill.
It's not open source hardware.
Not open source hardware.
But it can make open source hardware.
Yeah, it can make open source hardware. It's a cool little mill. We had Mike Esty, the CTO, on here before. On 4th of July, we started getting it ready to do some testers. Yep. So we're going to make our own testers here. So here's a quick little video.
Oh, you want me to grab a tester?
On 4th of July with your Othermill.
July 4th is a great day for hot dogs, barbecues, fireworks, and milling out your own PCBs.
All right.
Okay, and the reason that we're using the Othermill is we make testers for all of our electronics, and we usually use an Arduino.
Yeah.
And it's usually something like a Proto Shield and a bunch of pogo pins, and this will allow us to make something a little bit more permanent.
I'll grab one maybe after we do a video, and I'll show it right before right after we do new products because it's interesting. And also we'll do a video or a tutorial about how about that in general. But historically, what we've done is we've taken a bare PCB and used that with a Proto Shield to make our pogo pin testers, and you can actually look on Learn. We have a tutorial on how to do that. The problem is that as we're doing like weird shaped stuff, like fluoride wearables, like they're round, so the pogo pins don't quite line up in the holes. Also, oftentimes our testers need a couple extra components, resistors, capacitors, regulators, relays, or whatever to test the full capability of the board. And a third thing is that when you hand build a tester like this, the wires can break because you're hand soldering point to point with wires. By designing our own PCBs for each tester, we can make multiple testers really easy because you just hit print on the Othermill and it makes another one. They're a little bit more durable because they don't have wires; they have traces on the PCB. We can do weird custom shapes and have the pins anywhere. They don't have to be on a 0.1 inch grid. So we have 2 testers so far. Right now, I'm still doing the tester design, but I'm hoping that some of the team can start taking over the tester design. And what we do is actually, in Eagle, we take the design of the board that we're making a tester for, and we paste it onto an Arduino outline, and then delete all the components. So all we have is the pads, and then we run traces from the pads to the Arduino pins. Because usually it's like connect to the, like we have like a sensor, like a capacitive touch sensor or something. It's like connect to the sensor, make sure the sensor responds in I2C, check the interrupt pins, check the reset pins, like do they do what they're supposed to do? Yeah. And then we simulate touches by having like capacitors that tie to ground or something, and so that we can sense whether the capacitive touch sensors are all working. So that's like how we would test something like that, but every tester is slightly different. So having a custom PCB and being able to do it very fast is good, and it's kind of important because we have to be able to make testers very quickly because we have like 2 or 3 new products every week, and if we had to send off the PCB for the tester, first off, we often revise the testers like as we're using them. We're like let's like add some more components here, or let's like move some parts, or like the standoff should be over there. Like, if we send out a board, it would add weeks and weeks to our turnaround. Whereas if we make the testers right before we manufacture the boards, they're fast, and we can quickly spin them up and adjust them. And you can make like a kind of basic Arduino shield in like 15, 20 minutes on the Othermill.
Yeah.
And you guys in the background, so you can be doing other stuff.
We'll show some more examples as we do this, because it's a very modern, cool tool that we have here in Adafruit, and we like rapid manufacturing, and this helps us.
It currently only does single-sided, but it can drill holes, so you can like add jumpers. And it can do double-sided. After you get double-sided materials, it can like self-register, so you can do double-sided boards if you want.
Yeah. And then speaking of rapid manufacturing, I have a very short, quick video. We'll shoot some amazing photos and video later. Our Samsung 41 is now here, so we have
operational.
We have a stenciler, a Samsung 41, a Samsung 42, reflow oven. We have all the things that even giant companies have to do manufacturing. So we're a manufacturer. So here's a quick little video. And what you see here is the Samsung 41, which is lightning fast. It is one of the fastest pick and place machines in the world, and it's just throwing down the parts. And here's our 42, and these two work together. They have software that splits the job and allows them to actually optimize.
Yeah, they're in a line, so you can see the stenciler is all the way at the end, and it stencils the board, and it takes like 30 seconds for it to do the stenciling, and then it does an optical inspection of the stencil paste, and then it passes it along to the 41, and the 41 is a chip shooter. It's not actually a chip shooter, but because that's a certain kind of machine, but it acts as one, and it's really, really fast at doing all the resistors and capacitors. So all the 0805 resistors, capacitors, and LEDs, it does those like super fast. Picks up 10 and places them all at once.
Yeah.
And it's extremely fast. Even the motor gantry is even faster than the 482. And the 482 has the ability to do much larger sized parts. It's better at like big parts, weird parts. We have a tube feeder in it, so like some parts like come in tube, which is really annoying, but like that's what it is. It has a tray holder for tray parts. So it does the bigger, slower parts, like the chips, modules, SD cards, TFT connectors, all the big chunky bits. That's the 482. So
one's a sprinter and one's a heavy lifter.
Yeah, one is just like throwing out these like the teeny little components, super, super fast. And then one is good at like the larger, like precision, like TQFPs. It wants to get real good. It picks up these big capacitors. Like the 41 can't do big caps. It's just not meant to do it. It's meant to do small chips and small resistors and capacitors. Yeah,
and these machines aren't cheap. And we paid for it with Adafruit. This is we didn't take loans or venture capital.
We couldn't pay for it in Bitcoin. We asked.
But these machines all work together.
Yeah, and we have software that controls them together.
Yeah, which is really neat. So
the software wasn't cheap either. It was like $7,000 software.
Yeah.
And it splits the job. So you load in your Eagle. Well, from Eagle, I export the CAD file and then I load it into the software. And then it knows how fast each machine is. And so it splits the work up exactly into half. So if one is, so like it takes exactly the same amount of time. It's pretty, it's intense software. I always think like the people who write these pick and place software tools, they're like PhDs in like random like drunken walks. It's all about like how fast
can the
and how can you
machine
optimize how fast you can go from town to resistor feeder to the location, and changing nozzles takes time. I don't know.
So we'll have more about it. It's very exciting. It just all came together just the last couple of days, so that's why we only have a quick video.
So much equipment.
Okay, Adafruit Learning System, the biggest and the best, we think, place to learn electronics and more online. Okay. Because we have our Fona platform out, I get to trot out Nimbus, our little Internet of Things benevolent cloud entity. So
okay.
We have a lot of cool projects ahead because of the Fona. So we launched the Fona last week. Lady Ada, what is the Fona?
It's like my nemesis. The Fona is as far as I can tell, the littlest cell phone module you can get. It's an all-in-one cell phone. The little white square, kind of like right here, is from Simcom, and it contains a cellular module that can do voice, text, SMS, and data. It can drive a headset. It can do a microphone and speaker. It has like an analog digital converter on it just for kicks. It communicates where you are. It can have an antenna. It can also do FM radio reception for some reason, so you can listen to FM tunes. And we stuck it on a breakout board with a battery charger and like a headset adapter and all this protection circuitry. It can also like drive piezo buzzers. Like you do a whole bunch of stuff. It's like an all-in-one little cell phone. And basically you can create your own cell phone or cellular data, text, voice, whatever powered projects. And it's just a super small, low power, but like really good quality module. It just came out like a couple months ago. And I think it's actually aimed at the wearable market because it's like super small. It's like this, not much bigger than a quarter. But yeah, it has all the abilities of like a cell phone.
Yeah. So you didn't know if this tutorial was out, but it is.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Fona tethering for Raspberry Pi or BeagleBone Black.
Yeah. So this is how you can use the Fona module can do GPRS data. It's not 4G or LTE. It's not the fastest and the greatest, but it's also a really low cost, low power module. But it can do basic data, and you can do basic web browser stuff. You can, check email or send email or transfer files. I mean, you can transfer big files. It'll just take a long time. You can transfer small files. You can upload sensor data. You can send and receive tweets. Whatever you want to do, you can do it via this transparent internet link. The BeagleBone Black and Raspberry Pi don't know that it's connected to a cell phone. It just knows it's connected to a really, really slow internet.
Yeah.
So Tony DeCola did this tutorial, and it works pretty well. So check it out.
Yeah.
If you are interested in making your own completely wireless, sort of like off the grid BeagleBone Black or Raspberry Pi project.
Yep. Next up.
BeagleBone phone.
This tutorial came out today. We're going to show the video in the wearable section, but this is the Flora and Gemma ICSP. This is a way to load a bootloader on Gemma.
Or Flora.
Or Flora.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can do right there.
Which you shouldn't have to do, hopefully, but if you do, this is available.
Yeah, so we'll show that video in just a bit. This is the companion tutorial. Next up, this is the camera slider tutorial that the video will go live tomorrow morning. This is from Noah and Pedro. This is how to make your own 3D printed camera slider using this stuff in the Adafruit store and 3D printing some parts.
Yeah,
So,
it's handy if you
yeah.
want to make your own camera slider. This is the cheapest and easiest way to do it.
Yep.
Borrow a 3D printer, go to your friend, go to your library, go to your UPS store, whatever it takes, and make your own camera equipment.
Yeah.
And you can like easily take it apart for travel and stuff, which is also good.
Yeah. Okay, and this next one, we're going to show the video. This has been making the rounds around the internet. This is the Pi Girl Raspberry Pi Game Boy. The best enclosure for a Raspberry Pi. This turns your Raspberry Pi into a portable game machine.
And it must be pink.
And it must be pink. So we'll show the video shortly, but that's the full tutorial, the circuit diagram, everything you need to build one of
And
these.
it's not even that hard to build. It's actually it's a fairly easy project too. It's a fun couple-hour project. While the 3D case is being 3D printed, you can get all the electronics going and build your own. And you can run. You can actually run any emulator. We just show how to do it with an NES and MAME because I like NES games. I mean, we actually never got a Game Boy emulator working on it, but I mean, like, you could just download one and run it.
Okay. And next up, Time Travel Tuesday. So every week we have some great posts on the Adafruit site. We usually look back on what we were doing years ago on the Adafruit site. So we're always releasing a new product or doing something big. But we also have things from the world of maker history and just regular old history.
Okay.
So so this is kind of cool. So check this out. In 1948, the United States Air Force accepts its first female recruits into a program called Women in the Air Force.
Wow.
And this was in 1948. So fast forward to 1976 when women were just accepted as equal as men in the Air Force, but before they had a special program. So that's how times have changed. The first woman was Nancy Love as a commander, and then it was folded into the Women's Air Force Service Pilots in 1943, and it was disbanded in 1944. So, very cool. Next up, Wearables. Okay, so for this week, I had a little bit of a video clip. So you were at the Made with Code event. So this was one of the efforts that Google and some others are doing to get more people, especially young girls, into coding. And they did an awesome booth event thing, and all the Adafruit stuff is there. So what I did is I took a little video of each part of it with Adafruit. So I just wanted to play this because they did such a good job on the display. And those things, they build them and then they're gone and no one gets to see them. So
it was like the most amazing display. They did such a good job.
So I wanted to show what they had there. This is
a little glass case.
Yep, and that's the necklace. And they put made by Adafruit. There's little spikes. And then here is the umbrella, the NeoPixel tie, ambo tie. And then we had the tiara. And then we had the suspenders. That was neat. And then we have the helmet that tells you where the city bike station is. So that
Lots of NeoPixels.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So next up, here is the video that went with that tutorial about bootloading the Flora or Gemma.
Okay, let's watch it.
Let's watch the video.
On each Arduino-compatible microcontroller runs a tiny program called the bootloader. The bootloader is a helper that reads your Arduino sketch over USB and burns it to the little microcontroller brain. A new blank chip from the factory doesn't come with a bootloader on it. It's something that has to be programmed before you use it as an Arduino for the first time.
Bootloaded. Bam.
To program the chip with the bootloader requires a special programmer like the USB Tiny ISP, which is an Adafruit kit you can put together. Connecting to a standard Arduino is easy, but what about Flora and Gemma? Today we'll go over the connections you'll need to flash the bootloader on Adafruit's sewable microcontrollers. Flora and Gemma both come with a bootloader when you get them in the mail, but there are a few reasons you might want to burn your own, besides just the nerd cred. Maybe you're an AVR hacker and you want to change the bootloader's function. Or maybe you're building your own circuit and you need to flash a new blank chip. And then there's the rare case that maybe your bootloader got corrupted and flashing it again can bring your circuit back to life. To burn Flora's bootloader, insert a 6-pin header into the socket on the USB Tiny. Then plug the headers into Flora's ICSP pads next to the AVR chip. Wedge the pins against the pads to make contact, since we don't want to solder stabby header pins to the flat, wearable Flora. Make sure Flora is powered via USB or a battery. Double check your USB Tiny's jumper is in place, and use the Arduino software to send the bootloader to Flora. Connecting to Gemma is a bit more tricky since there's no space for the ICSP connector. Instead, you can build a cable squid connecting a standard socket to some alligator clips. Power Gemma over USB or a battery. Double check your USB Tiny's jumper is not in place. Hold the reset pin connection carefully and send over the bootloader commands. Sweet! The circuit diagram and complete tutorial for these techniques is up on the Adafruit Learning System if you'd like to follow along. Thanks so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more wearable electronics from Adafruit.
All right, and every week on the Adafruit site, all Thursday, we have 3D printing stories, blog posts from Matt, from Noah, from Pedro, projects, videos, you name it, it's on there.
Extruders.
I think it's the best place online for people who are interested in 3D printing, like to do 3D printing, not sure what to purchase, not sure what to learn, not sure where it's all going. Yeah, what to print. So this week I have a couple cool things. I posted this next one.
Okay, what?
This was kind of funny. So this is a giant white paper. It's like a 58-page white paper from the US government. And it's about the postal system. And it's the postal system talking about how they can use 3D printers. Okay. Right?
Yeah.
Now, for some of you, I think that might sound quite familiar because a couple years ago, I wrote a story on Make, the Postal Service, Can Hackers and Entrepreneurs Save It? And this giant white paper, it pretty much outlines they turned it into a big paper, the part where I had 3D printing, because there's a lot of real estate, so you can turn these into hubs. They have a lot of space, like Shapeways in New York has a giant facility. Well, they just shut down a post office here. So you could have had 3D printing hubs with these post offices. Now, what'll be interesting to see if they go through the rest of my things, I got a chance to talk to one of the postmaster, like, uppity-ups, and they really liked it. They said, hey, we just move slow, and we want to have a hack day, and we want to do that. But one of the other things that I had put in my article was, why doesn't the post office rent the top of the trucks to Google or to Bing or whoever else who wants to make a giant map network? They have to go everywhere.
That's right. Every address is going to be mapped.
And they go everywhere every day. they could do 3D maps and models of the whole country.
Yeah.
Because they have that permanent route that they go every day.
Every truck is the same.
Every truck's the same. There's a lot of interesting things with that. But the 3D printing thing that they were saying is like, oh, there's a lot of last mile things that they can do. There's a big opportunity. They're not sure. I think the Postal Service is trying to figure out what they're going to do for the next 100 years. They have a lot of financial issues that they have to get through.
Yeah.
And it's a very needed service. Like, what do you do? So anyways, check it out. Interesting read. Next up. Noah and Pedro are doing 3D models of Fona. This is the ones that are like fresh off the...
This is the preview one.
Yeah, we just wanted to show
we've
this.
Yeah, we've been tweaking it.
Yeah, we fixed it. But
they need to be colored too. All the parts don't have color.
Yeah.
There's white.
So I guess what I'm interested in is what are folks going to do with these when we release these? We think the Fona one's pretty easy to guess because people are going to look at this 3D model and they're going to use it as a blank, basically for designing something that the Fona fits into. Because it's a phone, you're going to make a banana phone and a shoe phone.
I think what this is about. Well, they wanted to do a Fona project. They're like, well, this is a good one to start with, but we want to make it so that we can export our designs from Eagle and basically auto-generate a 3D model of it based on, because we reuse a lot of the parts over and over again, like every capacitor and LED resistor and the connector and the audio jack, all that stuff is used over and over again. So how can we recycle the components, and like we found like a bunch of repositories of free part models, like this SimLock SD, the SimLock Amphenol SIM holder was already modeled for us, so we just had to figure out how to plug that in.
Yeah.
So Noah and Pedro are working on how to get it so we can like kind of auto-generate all these 3D models, and like maybe we have to tweak them a little bit, but so we don't have to model like each thing, and also you get like a true 3D model, not just like here's a square that is kind of about the same shape, but like a real model that looks very much like the final item.
Yeah, and there's a couple of things with like 3D printing that I think are ahead. So one, now that Adafruit in particular is doing 3D printing plus wearables, I think it shows how useful 3D printing can be. Before you spend $2,000 or whatever, you get this thing, and it sits in your home or workshop or whatever. You don't have anything to like trot out and show like what I look what I did. Enclosures for electronics seems to be the sweet spot.
Yeah.
And now once we have all of our electronics as 3D models, you can make enclosures from the start. So we'll see how it goes. Speaking of, these segments are combining into each other.
God.
Yeah, so that last one was 3D printing. This one's Pi Day. And every Friday we have an amazing collection of things in the world of Raspberry Pi. This is the Pi Girl. This is the project that you spent 3 months on. Noah and Pedro worked on it.
We actually had to design the Power Boost 500 and the micro LiPo that's panel mountable, like that's 3D print mountable. So like we had to design all these breakouts so that we could carry, make this portable. Like I didn't want to have this be tethered. Like you have to have it be, move it around if you want. And also they worked really hard on the 3D model. And what's funny is it looks like huge, but this is actually the size of the Game Boy. Like the original one. In fact, it was actually this big. It had like 4 AA batteries in the back. And the screen was way smaller too. The screen is huge compared to the original had like this bezel, and then it had another bezel. It had like the double bezel because the screen was so small.
Yeah. So
and it's full color.
You had to do a whole product line, the Power Boost, because you wanted to power this thing. So unlike a lot of the Raspberry Pi projects that you see, this is all powered on its own.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool.
And it has like a low battery indicator, and you can like shut down safely, all that good stuff.
Let's go to the video and watch this.
I'm going to play Final Fantasy 1.
Celebrate the 20th anniversary of that classic gaming device by building your own with 3D printing and DIY electronics from Adafruit. In this project, we'll use a Raspberry Pi and TFT touchscreen to make an epic DIY game girl. The 3D printed enclosure will house all the components, and you can print it in your favorite color. We'll hack this classic gaming controller and reuse the printed circuit board, buttons, and the elastomer gaskets. Find out how to assemble and program this project by checking out the guide on the Adafruit Learning System. You can get all the parts for this project on Adafruit.com. A beefy rechargeable lithium-ion battery will give you hours of playtime, and the power circuit allows you to easily recharge the battery with USB. It's easy to upload your favorite ROMs to the SD card, and you can play several different games with full audio support. For many more hours of gaming, be sure to pick up a battery bank and make an extra one for your best bud or partner. What classic retro game will get you playing on the go? Let us know in the comments below.
All right, so That's it. That's your project. That's
Yeah.
the thing
Do you
that
want to
you...
show it on the overhead at all? Or
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure, like that.
Let's see.
Maybe so people can see the scale of.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Not so bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, you
Do
can.
you want to start a
see-
game?
Yeah, I can play like
I'm going to put in Super Mario because that's the one that we use for the photos
classic
and stuff.
Super Mario 3. Yeah, so you can load games, and then it goes right into the emulator, and then you can have the headphone out here. If you wanted to install a speaker, you could do that.
Okay, so anyone can make this. It's kinda
Yeah, and I have to remember how to play this game. But what is it? Was it press A or select? I don't remember how you start the.
cool. All right.
Oh, you have to press B. Yeah, so you can,
There you go. Look at you.
B.
Oh,
Right, and then you die.
no. Oh, no.
You're not looking. But yeah, and then you can quit out of the games by holding down select and start. And you can.
Okay.
I played Zelda all the way through on this, but you can play like pretty much any game. The emulation is 100%. So you get audio and 100% emulation with the Raspberry Pi on the little screen. You can also stream MAME games, and hopefully other people will like add other games that they want.
How
to
easy
show.
is it to dump in the shell if you want to get out of that?
You can, but you have to connect to the USB port here, and then you hit I think F3. I remember if you look in the tutorial, the Cupcake tutorial, you F3 and it dumps you to a shell. It boots directly into this little like a menu program, so you can select which game you want to play, and then you can shut down cleanly by holding down the select and start, and it does a shutdown halt now.
All right, and the big announcement we make every single week, don't forget, we have the biggest Raspberry Pi photography contest going on. All
that's
you
right.
need to do is take a photo and tag it RPPA. You can email it to us. You can post it on Twitter or Flickr or Instagram or Google+, all those different things. Here's a good example. This is Tony's cat, Carmen. This is a great photo of a cat. We don't want photos of Raspberry Pis. We want photos of cats and other things that are kind of like cats now.
No, it doesn't have to be a cat.
doesn't
It
have
can
to be a cat.
dog or
Yeah.
a hamster
Yep.
or a hedgehog
And
or
we have-
ferrets. It's fine too.
Celebrity judges from Adafruit. This is the judging team at Adafruit. And we have Liz from the Raspberry Pi
Look
Foundation.
at those earrings.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
And so the grand prize, $314 in the Adafruit store. And then we have 14 $30 prizes
Okay.
in the Adafruit store.
So
and
let's
all you
talk-
have to do is take, basically all you have to do is take a crummy photo
If you
with
enter-
it like a webcam-like thing. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, but it has to do with the Raspberry Pi.
Yeah.
And you can use the Pine Noir or the Pi. You can use the built-in effects. It has like these weird kind of like sketchy or like
Yeah.
oil painting effects. You can do that.
If you have a
There's
Raspberry,
no GIMP.
if you have a Raspberry
or
Pi and you
Photoshop.
bought a camera for it because you're like, I'm gonna do something cool, but you kind of never did, which
This is your chance.
A lot of people did. Now you finally can. A lot of
Yeah.
people, they did cool stuff with cameras, and they've already, like, we have a lot of photos that were sent in. But if you bought it and you said you're gonna finally do something one day, you can actually win stuff to get more Pi stuff.
Yeah. And you can buy more Pi stuff
Yeah.
or like other type
Okay.
of things, Beagle Bones, Arduinos.
Time, base and bills before we show new products. Go to Pi Girl. You know why it's called Pi Girl? Because it was all about this. It was about this cool project.
Yeah.
That's why it was Pi Girl. Okay, so new product time, Lady Ada.
Yay.
Let's do this thing. First up.
I gotta turn on the lamp. Okay.
Okay, you're gone.
We only have two. I'm coming back. I'm here.
It'd be crazy
I'm
if you.
here.
I wouldn't know what to do if you left.
I just disappeared.
I would just kind
I think
of.
it's your eyes are showing.
I would just bring.
Okay, we have
I just hit stop.
stop. You gotta go.
So we have this thing that the plants can talk to you, and
Yeah.
they'll say, "Help, water me." No, they chirp. They chirp if they need water.
It's a little chirpy, chirpy circuit board, and this is by WeMakeThings.net, and this is actually all assembled, and it's totally open source hardware, which is really cool. And it's a little like a capacitive sensor with a AT-Tiny 44 on the back, so it's like a little AT-Tiny, and has a piezo button at the top, and you put in a coin cell. We have coin cells in the store. You just slip it in, and it lasts for a while, and then it just chirps with a piezo when it needs to be watered. So it's a cute little project. I thought it was a nice open source hardware project and very useful. And check it out in the store.
Yeah.
It was a good time. You have plants, they're going to die soon. Maybe
Okay.
not if you have a chirp.
And then this is our other product. We only have 2 this week because we have a billion next week.
Billion?
Yeah. The project that you've been working on for a while, because this is really hard to do, and this is the only one out there that we know of, is Adafruit's FM transmitter. We have one.
Yes.
So let me show you some.
Adafruit radio. This
Yeah.
is a Scilabs 4713 FM transmitter chip. It's just a teeny little chip that can do a lot. It's an FM transmitter, and it can also do RDS, which is the radio data service that runs over FM. So there's FM stereo. There's actually a really nice FM stereo job, and I'll have a demo for it shortly. And it just takes audio in, and using I2C, you can connect to a microcontroller. We have Arduino code. You can port it to another microcontroller. And then you send it commands to tell it what FM station you want to transmit on. You tell it the kilohertz, or megahertz. And then you can also use RDS, which is the way that sometimes if you're in a car, like it'll say like the station name and the song that's playing. So it allows you to send that data. So I don't have a pocket radio that has RDS. It's rare for pocket radios to have it. But we have on the tutorial, I show how to use a SDR radio to get that data. So you can transmit any data you want over FM and have it show up on like your car stereo.
Let's do a live demo.
I'll do my live demo. Okay, so hold on, I gotta set up my demo. So over here, on the overhead, we got a lot of stuff going here. Okay, so over here I have an MP3 shield, and it's connected to the FM radio, and I have a little antenna here. And I'm just playing audio through it, and last I checked this was working, so hopefully it's still working. I don't see why it wouldn't be. But it just connects over I2C, and so yeah, it's just playing audio off of the micro SD card, and the audio is coming out of the MP3 shield and into here, and then this is gonna go over there. Okay, and then over here I have a FM radio, and let me see if I can get this to work. So it's tuned into 101.5, which is the radio station that this is transmitting on, and I have these little Porta speakers. Let me see.
Oh, quick question. Can this be ran by a trinket?
I don't know.
Okay.
Scilab stuff doesn't seem to like being run by teeny wire.
So you need an
and it's a little chunky. There's a lot of code. Like it's not a simple I2C client. Like if you're used to like simple I2C, we were like send and get register. It's not. There's like a huge command set.
Okay.
So I'm not sure it can be squished into a trinket.
Okay.
And then let me turn up the volume.
All right. This is the first live transmission of FM on a live electronics show that I know of.
All right, this one is. Oh my God! There's like interference. Okay.
Yeah, we're broadcasting here with all our wireless
I know.
stuff.
There's like the HDMI signal, but it is transmitting audio.
Yeah, you can hear it.
And it's playing the Ada bot theme. The songs that keep it
Yeah.
away from the gigantic HDMI cable over there.
Yeah, this way YouTube won't shut us down for copyright infringement because we own the copyright of
We
this
own
song.
this song, YouTube. So yeah, you can use any FM receiver to receive audio, and it sends it in stereo, so that's like lovely. It only whoa.
So you're going to tune into it? Is that what you're doing?
I
right now?
did. Now I'm turning it off because it's loud, disruptive. But yeah, you just tune in over FM. And it even says like you have full bars signal and you have stereo as well.
Okay.
I can turn it back up again.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
All right,
Turn it
so
back
that's the new...
That's my demo. It works over FM. So actually that's how we do the testing. We actually have this radio and you listen in
Oh, really?
while it plays audio through it, so you can make sure that it's actually a fun tester because you put it down on the tester and then you listen for like audio music coming through on the pocket radio.
Okay. All right. And with that...
Make your own pirate radio station.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all of our new products. Really two.
Well, that's new products.
Just two this week.
All right, folks, put in your engineering questions for Lady
All right, so
Ada.
we have almost 10 minutes for questions.
Yeah.
You asked me about the new
Don't
products.
forget, Pi Girls code 10% off in the Adafruit store.
You asked me about my favorite Nintendo games.
Well, let's stick to engineering questions.
Let's stick to engineering.
Okay, I have the AD8495 K-type analog thermocouple breakout. How would I hook it up to an Arduino, connect the output directly to an analog input, or would I also put a resistor to ground from there?
You can connect it directly to an Arduino analog input. It's like super easy. I don't remember if we have a tutorial for that one. It's so simple. You just power it, and then the analog input, you measure it with a multimeter to make sure it seems correct. Should be, I think it says it like 10 millivolts per degree C. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head, but you just measure that with an Arduino analog input, and there's a lot of tutorials on how to read analog inputs and then convert that to millivolts. So yeah, you may want to use the external voltage reference, connect that to 3.3 volts, so you get a nice precise voltage reference.
Okay, next up. I think this is regarding the chirp. That's awesome. Could multiple chirps be connected to an Arduino or a BeagleBone Black?
You can connect at least one because I know it acts as an I2C slave. So they have a tutorial on how to connect it to an Arduino. You can probably adapt that tutorial to a Raspberry Pi or a BeagleBone Black. I don't know if you can connect multiple ones. You probably can with a little bit of a hacking. Again, it's open source hardware, so you can just rewrite the firmware to modify it. So like to have a pin go high if it's time to be watered or something
What's
like that.
the range for the FM transmitter?
The FM, yeah, it's a low power FM transmitter because that's what's legal. It's like 50 feet or so. I mean, I could put it over there. I mean, it's like with a good antenna, I'd say like 50 to 100 feet.
Okay. Next up, will there be a Pi Girl camera and printer accessory like the original Game Boy?
Yeah.
All right. Next up, now that
Once
there's
in a while, people come up with projects and like, so I had this like Game Boy printer, and I'm like, the what?
yeah, no, that's cool.
And they had the cable you could connect together.
Yeah.
Like
Now that there's a couple pick and place machines, what do you think the next equipment to expand manufacturing? Oh, I can answer this. Board loader,
we're gonna get a board stacker,
Yep.
board loader board.
most likely.
Because it's so the machines are so fast. We feed the boards into the stenciler, and the stenciler feeds them into the pick and places, and then it gets fed into the oven. But you still have to feed them into the stenciler. So if we had a stacker, it's like it's like when you go to the cafeteria, you have the stack of trays. It's like that. It just gives one at a time. It pushes one into the stenciler at a time.
Okay, next up, what was your favorite Zelda installment? You just started playing Zelda.
Just one. I just played the first one.
All right.
Zelda 1. I finished it.
Okay.
The games were good. It was a good game. For like they didn't have a lot.
Okay. So this is a question that's sort of here. I don't know what this is. Okay, I'm gonna keep moving.
Okay.
Do you know a good source for learning advanced Arduino code other than the Arduino website? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, learn.
Learn.adafruit.com, and then also we have a ton of Arduino books.
Yeah, if you check out learn.adafruit.com, we have like tons of tutorials. And so if you have some, I mean, like, what does advanced mean? Also, you can look at just AVR, GCC, or other C or C++ tutorials. Most advanced Arduino stuff ends up kind of sort of being like just like how to deal with pointers and structures and like programming with objects and stuff. You can also read through the library code that I've written. We've had a lot of that. But yeah, just check out some of the projects and like try to understand line by line what they're doing.
Okay.
That's a good way to start.
Next, do you know a good source? Oh no, I just did this one. Does a Pi Girl use power path to allow the battery to be charged while the Pi is operating?
You can charge while playing. What happens is that to avoid having the stutter that occurs if you sometimes have like a power path that lets the USB through, because the USB isn't like just to make it like better for everybody, I make it so that the USB charges the battery, and then the battery gets boosted, so you can charge and play at the same time. It'll just like it basically goes through the battery and directly into the chargers. Not the most efficient, but it means you can charge and play at the same time.
Someone wants to know where they can buy the Adabot song. We're actually going to have an album coming out soon.
That's right.
And we'll probably, of course, have all the music available for download soon too. CAD files for parts. So you can get the Eagle CAD parts from us in our library on GitHub, but we're doing the 3D printed ones soon. There'll be
the 3D printed stuff. We're still working. We're using like Eagle Up and like the Pavre Eagle 3D. We looked online, and sometimes you Google for parts and the word 3D or 3D model. There's like sites that have models of 3D of parts. Also, like McMaster has 3D models of some like screws and hex nuts and standoffs. There's no real big one repository. It's still a little bit of a guess and find.
Next up, when will Adafruit sell SIM cards? Working on it. Stay tuned.
We're working on it. We want them to be good ones.
Yeah. Next up, do you have to use an Uno for the Fona?
We guarantee it works with an Uno. We do not guarantee it to work with anything else, although it'll work with any other Arduino compatible. We just haven't tested it. You need a software serial port. We haven't implemented hardware serial yet. Since almost everyone has an Uno, we focus on Uno because like so many derivatives are Uno based, and like a lot of breadboard Arduinos are also Uno based. So it's the safest.
All right, next up, and I think this is from Justin Hall, who's someone we met a really long time ago at South by Southwest. Hey, Justin, how's it going? I actually like his new video series. Next up, this is a question from him. Can I connect multiple LCDs or TFT panels to a single Raspberry Pi?
Oh, that's a good question. You can connect one HDMI monitor to the HDMI port, and you can connect like a Pi TFT via SPI. And you can control both at the same time, where one is your frame buffer 0 and one is your frame buffer 1. You cannot like switch between the two. Like you can't have a program running on like the Pi TFT and then switch it to HDMI or back. Like when the program launches, it needs to know the resolution, and the resolution is like totally different. You cannot connect multiple HDMI monitors. There will be one day a Raspberry Pi display, and that will use the DSI port. And at that point, you can have an HDMI display and a Pi TFT and a DSI display, all three with 3 frame buffers. And again, you can launch 3 different like X servers if you want on all 3. But I don't know when the Raspberry Pi display is coming out.
Okay. All right. Next up, you're ready for some speed round?
Yeah.
Because we got a couple minutes. Okay. You got to answer these fast. You ready? How did you zero in on the Fona pricing?
Well, we're still working on yield. So basically what I do is I take the bill of materials and I multiply it by 1.7 and then 1.7 again. And then I add any like yield loss, because like our first one was like 70% loss, 7% yield, which means 30% of them like just totally didn't work. And we've gotten better at it. But like $40 seems to me like a pretty fair price. As our yields go up and up and up, I tend to lower the prices on things. So you'll see like a lot of breakout boards that used to be like $20, I can lower down to like 15 or 12 or $10 as the manufacturing gets easier and better and faster.
Okay.
Like big picking places.
Next up, this one might not be able to be answered easily. How do you know when and where to use capacitors in your products?
Usually going by the data sheet, they'll recommend, like for a boost converter or power supply, they'll say these are the minimum capacitance that you need. Other than that, it's good to have a 0.1 microfarad per chip or per VCC pin. And then, you can also like gauge how it's performing based on that. But a lot of it is, just watch use it as you expect, and then watch your power line for noise and add more ferrites and capacitors as necessary.
Okay. Let's see. There's a lot of questions, but we got to go. Here, I'll wrap up with this one. This person is going to their first Maker Faire, first Hope, and they're looking for advice on what wearable project to do. Well, there's a few that you can do.
Goggles.
Well, you could do goggles. You could do the Guggen hat, which is really good because you could put messages on it.
The Guggen hat's good because you can scroll messages.
Yeah.
And it's not too hard of a project either.
Yeah. If it's raining, you can do the floor umbrella.
Yeah, but you're inside.
Yeah, if you wear ties, the Ampli-Tie is really good because it's reactive to the environment.
Yeah, stuff.
And those are like, there's also the 3D printed horns that you can do.
Yeah, those are fun.
So these are all really good ones, and you'll fit right in both places.
Yeah, we have like a dozen cool wearable projects. The shoes, we like to wear the Firewalker shoes. Yeah. So those are also good. Lots of stuff.
Okay, so that is. That's the show.
Okay,
we just
we'll
ran
do
out of
more
time.
questions next week.
Yeah, that was great.
We did like good solid 10 minutes of questions.
Yeah. All right. Next up.
Yes.
It's time to give something away.
Okay.
Trivia question. What are the rules, Lady Ada?
Rules are, if you've won anything ever from this show, you cannot win again. Only one winner per lifetime, and that's my lifetime. You can enter if you've won something on Becky's show, because Becky's not me, so I don't care.
Yeah.
And also, I don't keep track of who won from Becky's show.
We can't keep track of that.
The prize is either a chirp or an FM transmitter, because I actually don't know which is cooler. You choose. You say which one you want. You get one or the other, not both. One or the other.
Okay.
Whoever types in the answer correctly into what, Ustream or YouTube, or both.
They're pretty synced up tonight.
Okay.
Sometimes
we'll look. Whoever gets fastest, Ustream, we'll watch both, like double pane, is the winner of this fabulous prize.
So here is the trivia question. We showed a small little milling machine.
Like this big.
About this big. And we also had the CTO on our show. What is the name of that little milling machine? And we're using it for our PCB.
Yeah, making testers. Remember, like it was routing PCBs.
Yeah, so I'm looking at both YouTube chat and Ustream, and they were synced up tonight because I was typing things in both, and they were pretty close.
Okay.
So the first person who got it is Redbeard Dev. Redbeard Dev, congratulations. Email support@adafruit.com. You get a chirp or the FM transmitter.
Whichever one you want.
Yeah, that's a hard choice. They're both cool.
Yeah, but like if you have an Arduino or if you have plants, I mean, it's up to you.
Okay, congrats.
Congrats. I wish we could give away an Othermill, but we don't. We only have one.
Yeah.
But it works pretty well. Hopefully they'll be available for sale soon. And
Yeah.
people can make their own PCBs. I like it. It's fun. I used to
All
use the
right.
Model at the Media Lab, and this is much quieter.
Okay.
It's extremely silent, like for a mill.
Congrats, Redbeard Dev. I wonder if this is a Redbeard that we know. Who is it? Red
You
Fan.
know what?
I
A
don't know.
lot of devs have red beards.
Yeah, if you have red hair, what the cool thing is to get a big red beard.
Hello.
Because it's like, hey, red beard. But when you have a black beard, no one calls you Blackbeard. But if you have red beard, they call you
Red beard.
red beard. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. But if you have a gray beard, they call you gray
pink
beard.
beard.
Yeah, pink beard. No, I don't think you should do that.
Okay.
Okay. That is the show tonight, everyone. Special thanks to all the folks who came to the show and tell. Special thanks to all the Adafruit folks who are still here, packing, shipping, manufacturing, and more. Thank you, everyone out there who watches the show every week and supports us, this open source hardware company, by getting stuff at a good discount sometimes. Pi Girl, 10% off in the Adafruit store, all the way up until 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight.
Next week will be a glorious new product
Yeah,
week. I
next
think.
week is gonna get some popcorn and just hang out
I
because
know,
you're gonna
it's
see some of the
a little
coolest,
crazy.
weirdest stuff. Also, special thanks to all the Adafruit folks that are in the chat room helping out.
Yes, thank you.
And
You're very helpful.
All the cool questions. If we didn't get to your questions, okay, you can always stop back next week.
Yeah, we got a little bit over. Like usually, it's like we have a little bit of time, but this, I think, because we said get questions and people kind of questioned it up. We'll
Yeah.
try to make more time, but it's
Yeah.
we had all these little videos.
This is really good. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you here next week, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every week. The longest running live electronics show.
Right
What's
here.
interesting is it would take someone to start now and do one every
5
single
years.
and do it every single week, and then but they'd have to do it longer than 4 years. So it'd be 4 years from now.
And we've been doing it for 8 years.
That is, yeah,
When's our 5-year anniversary?
it's coming up soon, August-ish.
250 shows.
Yeah. All right.
Jeez.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you soon. Here is a picture of MOSFET, and here is your moment of Zener.